Hey YouTube, Ryu here. Well, uh, I decided that I'm not going to be playing Pokemon Go anymore. And the reason why isn't because I have an issue with any changes that have been made or anything like that. I'm glad that they're starting to try to crack down on hackers. But again, it's the same issue of why a lot of these people are hacking and using these different exploits for the game. And and sorry about the lighting quality, but it's the only time I've had to record today. But the thing is it's just like with the tracker issue. You know, people were using those third-party sites to go ahead and track down Pokemon after Niantic ended up breaking the initial tracker. And then they sat there and tried to call people that were using that, hackers, cheaters, so on and so forth, when there was no real way of getting it. They hadn't fixed their issue. They take it away, and then they tell people to stop complaining about them taking away their hacks when they hadn't done anything to fix their mistake, which those sites were doing. Now, I could see asking the sites to go down after they brought out the new tracker, but that's not what happened. They took down those sites and then took forever to bring out a functional tracker, which really hurt them. I mean, it hurt the game bad. A lot of people stopped playing. You saw a massive bleed off. Now, anywho, as far as that's concerned, we've got people that are using these devices because they can't afford to go ahead and travel to these other countries to get the regional exclusives to, finish out their Pokedex and all of that. Now, I'm kind of a purist player. I'm one of those people that thinks that if you're playing a game that involves other people, you shouldn't use hacks, period. But even I'm having a hard time faulting these people. Now, when someone like me has a problem with faulting people that are actively using cheating methods in a game, well, then the game has some issues. But I was sticking around, still playing the game, still saying, hey, Niantic's going in the right direction. Niantic's going in the right direction. Well, that's changed. Because I got together with one of my buddies and started talking with him. He's also been a Pokemon Go player. He stopped playing a while ago. But he's still been keeping up on the news, seeing if Niantic could pull it back out and get him reinterested again. Well, me and him both played Ingress when that was a big thing. And obviously we don't play Ingress anymore because we wouldn't have been playing Pokemon Go if we were playing Ingress. I mean, you don't see a whole lot of crossover on that. Because the people that are playing Ingress are busy playing Ingress, while the people playing Pokemon Go are busy playing Pokemon Go. The only time you really see a crossover is whenever people are trying to get new Ingress locations so that there's going to end up being a new Pokestop popping up or something like that. Those are few and far in between. That's a lot of effort that goes into it. But the problem that I'm now having that's actually causing me to quit is I'm noticing the same pattern that happened with Ingress, almost step for step, happening with Pokemon Go. Obviously, there are some extra steps that weren't there with Ingress because Pokemon Go, let's be honest, is a much larger game. It has a much larger scope. But the problem is Niantic cannot get out of their big city thinking. Now, I recently got into a back and forth with someone on one of Trainer Tips' videos. The problem that I'm having with the Trainer Tips video is it had that mentality of, oh, well, I'm not having a problem catching Pokemon, so I don't know what anyone's complaining about. Or, yeah, I know it's kind of shitty for them, but I'm not going to expand on that. I'm not going to sit there and call out Niantic. Now, anyone who doesn't know who Trainer Tips is, I mean, as far as the channel is concerned, I don't know what the guy's actual name is. I don't care. The thing is he does a lot of Pokemon news and so on and so forth. But you can very easily, if you actually sit back, critically look at what he's saying, he sits there and covers Niantic on their mistakes, and then actively tells people to stop bitching whenever they're getting the shaft. Because he lives in a big city. And I'm not talking about a big city like Sacramento. I'm talking about a big city like, LA, San Francisco, so on and so forth. The ones where you have areas that have so many Pokestops and so many players playing that at any point your screen is full of Pokemon. It's full of Pokestops. You have maybe a 30-second or, God forbid, a minute and a half walk between Pokemon stops with a bunch of Pokemon spawning in between, and also at Pokemon stops, and a lot of rare spawns happening. Well, there's a big problem with that. Because when you live in a suburban area, or even a smaller city, or a city that doesn't have a whole lot of people still playing because they got sick and tired of wandering aimlessly for months on end trying to find Pokemon, well, now there's not really any rare spawns unless there's an event going on. And even then, if you look at the quote-unquote rare spawns that happen there, it's all like, oh, they increased the spawn rate for this Pokemon. Perfect example. Porygon with the Valentine's Day event. Well, I mean, take a look at me. I don't got anyone. So Valentine's Day, not a big deal for me. I don't have someone that I got to spend time with. So I was out constantly playing. Not once did I come across a Porygon. I talked to the other few players that play in the area. Only 2 of them caught a Porygon during that event. And we had people playing round the clock. Same thing with Chansey, which is a lot less rare than the Porygon spawn. So even with that drastically increased spawn rate, we still got screwed. And we aren't an urban area, we aren't a suburban area or a rural area. We're actually considered a city. And yet we still got screwed out of it. So that's an issue. And it's one that Niantic will never address. And the reason why I'm saying that with so much confidence behind it is because they never addressed the similar issues with Ingress. I mean, hell, my city ended up getting completely blanketed over a mass catch. Well, not catch, but, a claim area. My entire city got blanketed. The nearest point that we would have had to have driven to was an hour and a half outside of the city. Well, me and a few of my buddies got together, went out to that area. Yeah, all the people that were there were cap level. cap level. I guarantee you they were pay to winners. Pokemon Go doesn't have the whole pay to win thing going, unless you're gonna, consider the egg incubators pay to win, which I don't. I don't really think there's much of a pay to win aspect to Pokemon Go. With Ingress, oh yes, there was. But the thing is when we got there, we tried to take out that node. So that way the area wouldn't be completely blanketed, so we could continue playing. Well, guess what? Me and 3 other people could not take out that node. We got wiped out over and over and over again. We sank money into the game, which we hadn't really done in any capacity beforehand. And then when we sat there, we took a small break, we kept an eye on the node. It was repairing just as fast as we could cause damage to it. And that was the nearest node. We went ahead and called some people that were on our team that were close to another node, that we knew were close to there. They went out there. They refused to even attack it because, again, cap level people. They tried to attack it at first and ended up instantly getting wiped out. We couldn't break the field, so it brought the game to a dead standstill. You don't have a problem with that with Pokemon until you consider the gym system. All it takes is a few people moving into the area from a large city, and you will see the difference. Like, period, end of story. You will see the difference. So now you're going to go ahead and have it where those local people can go ahead and trade. All right, well, that's nice if you're living in a big city that has an international airport or is close to an international airport that has a lot of people from other countries coming and seeing your shit, going to an art museum, whatever, whatnot. Maybe a city that has something like, Disneyland in it, where people from around the world come to visit. All right, that's going to be fine for those people. But the thing is you still have a big problem. What's that big problem? Oh yeah, those people that come here aren't going to be wanting the regional exclusives from here. Because they're now here. They can catch those region exclusives. And they're going to be in that big city. And there's going to be tons of those Pokemon around. And there's a lot of people saying, oh, well, that's what Silph Road's doing. They're organizing trades. Oh, great. So now I have to go out and meet with a stranger, arrange a meeting with a stranger. So they know where I'm going to be, what I look like, whatever, whatnot. So I have to get a group of people together to go out there just to be safe. Yeah, real smart, Niantic. Brilliant. Why don't you go ahead and talk to those people, those teenagers who sat the lures at those Pokestops attacked? How about that? How about those people? Why not take that into account? Not exactly rocket science. But no, you're deciding to go full retard. You're not learning from the past. You're not learning from the problems with Ingress. You're not learning from the bleed off from Ingress. And here we are doing the same exact dance again, except now you're falling from a greater height. When Pokemon Go fails, your company is going to go under. And I can't wait to see it. Because the fact is, you have had that big city mentality for way too long when the majority of your games are going to appeal more to a suburban and, quite frankly, rural type of play. Especially with Pokemon. Oh my goodness, you could have sat there and said, hey, look, if there's an area where there aren't a lot of people playing, then we're going to go ahead and throw the rare spawns out there to get people to explore out there. That's if you were actually trying to get people out and exploring and not just trying to cash grab. I mean, honestly, that's the only thing that I can think of at this point. You don't care about people getting out and traveling and exploring. Oh, no. You don't care about that. You care about keeping those big whales, throwing money into your coffers. Here's a little bit of a tip. If you had made the game fun for rural players, for suburban players, you would have had a lot of money coming in. But now you've got these people that have a lot of money, and yeah, they're spending some of it in there, but they're spending less into it because now they're having to pay $2,000 to travel to a different country to get a fucking Pokemon. And you're losing the suburban and rural players. Great job. Maybe if you would actually listen to your fan base, which with Pokemon was a very large fan base, and Pokemon Go was even larger. It was getting people who had never even been interested in Pokemon into Pokemon. You could have had the biggest game in history and just had it sitting under your thumb, and you could have rode it for a long time, but you refused to A, invest in the game properly, B, you refused to listen to the fans, and C, you decided to not consider the outsiders. I guarantee you the vast majority of your bleed off was the suburban and the rural players. You know, the ones that are sitting there, the very few that are remaining, are telling you that they're going to quit if you don't give them some way of accessing this without having to spend thousands of dollars in travel fees. Now, it's not such a big deal in a country like Japan, where for the same cost that it would take someone to drive from Northern California down to the bigger cities, for the same cost there, they can go from one end of their their island, and then back. It's not going to be that big of a deal for them to travel. But we don't have that here in the U.S. There are very few countries that have anything even remotely close to that. There are huge swaths of the planet that aren't playing your game. And why? Because you've neglected them. And you continue to neglect them, and you are even going out of your way to spit in these people's faces. And you have brought a level of toxicity to Pokemon that I really didn't ever expect to see. You have damaged this series. You've damaged the reputation. And you didn't get even the slightest bit about your game right.